WADR, promoting dialogue.
Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. This is NEWSLINK, and here are the top stories. Senegalese opposition politician Sonko returns to the court to seek inclusion in the 2024 electoral roll. Guinea-Bissau's President Mbala alleges opposition role in recent attempted coup. Proponents of anti-LGBT bill in Ghana express frustration over Parliament's failure to consider the bill.
Our frustration is that this is not the first time this is happening. It's not the second time. This is the third time the Speaker has given such an instruction and it has been disregarded in his absence. We need to understand from the majority side.
And Gambia National Assembly calls for increased arms supply to security services and improved conditions for officers.
Another pertinent thing that is of importance, the delay of promotions. You will see within the ranks 8 years, 10 years with one rank. So I think it's not fair and they need to be considered in that regard also.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is a more edit with NEWSLINK.
Many thanks for joining us. We'll begin here in Senegal, where a court in Dakar will examine on December 12 the reinstatement or not of the Senegalese opponent Ousmane Sonko on the electoral list on which his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election depends. David Vincent has the details.
A press release signed by the president of the High Court of Dakar indicates that a special hearing planned to examine the request for the cancellation of a measure of removal from the list Sonko's electoral campaign is set for next week, Tuesday, December 12. Recall that the Supreme Court in Senegal overturned on November 17 a judgment rendered in October which reversed the removal of the opponent's electoral list and gave him a chance to relaunch in the presidential race in February 2024. The president of the Supreme Court of Senegal, Ali Sireba, announced that the highest judicial body in the country overturned and annulled the decision of the Disseminating Court of October 12. The president of the Supreme Court of Senegal, Ali Sireba, announced that the highest judicial body in the country overturned and annulled the decision by the Disseminating Court of October 12. Ali Sireba has decided to refer the case to the Dakar High Court so that it could be retried on the merits. As a reminder, the opponent Ousmane Sonko has been incarcerated since July 31 on several charges, including calling for insurrection, criminal association linked to a terrorist enterprise, and endangering state security. He claims to be the subject of a plot to exclude him from the presidential race. He was found guilty on June 1st of debauchery of a minor and sentenced in absentia to 2 years in prison.
David Vincent filed that report. We head now to Mali, where the Observatory for Elections and Good Governance is urging the transition authorities to disclose the new date for the presidential election. This coalition, comprising around 30 civil society organizations, believes that the necessary conditions are now established for a restoration of constitutional order. As a proposed measure, they suggest a revision of the electoral law to facilitate the holding of the election in March 2024. Tofik Abdul Nasser tells us more in this report by WDL's Bamako correspondent Aliu Cham.
2 months have elapsed since the deferment of the originally scheduled February 2023 presidential election, and the interim authorities have yet to announce a new date. In light of this, the Observatory for Elections and Good Governance in Mali is urging a thorough examination of the situation to facilitate a return to constitutional order. Ibrahim Massango, the president of the Election Observation Mission in Mali, emphasized the need for closer scrutiny. The Minister of Territorial Administration in Mali, in justifying the postponement, cited technical reasons. Contrary to this, Ibrahim Massango contends that the necessary conditions are now in place, advocating for the elections to take place in March 2024. In response to these developments, the Observatory for Elections and Good Governance in Mali is recommending the initiation of a dialogue framework with political parties. This measure aims to ensure that any decision regarding a potential extension of the transition period is reached through consensus.
Tawfiq Abdul Nasser reporting there in our report filed in by our Bamako correspondent Ali Cham. Well, let's head now to Guinea, where President Umaru Sissoco Embalo has accused the opposition of orchestrating what he has been characterized as an attempted coup in the country a week ago. Last Thursday, gunfire exchanges occurred in the capital Bissau, involving elements of the National Guard and the Presidential Special Forces. Abdul Hassan reports that on Wednesday, the National Army showcased various weapons that claim to have seized in the aftermath of these events.
During an interview with France 24, the president of Guinea-Bissau revealed that the president of parliament had issued instructions to the National Guard to release ministers implicated in a corruption case leading to a military standoff in the capital. The chief of staff of the Bissau-Guinean army displayed numerous weapons and communication equipment to the media, claiming they were confiscated from National Guard members during recent clashes and subsequent combing operations. President Umaru Sissoco Embalo contends that this seizure serves as evidence of an attempted coup. He announced the forthcoming formation of a new government which will establish fresh dates for early parliamentary elections following the dissolution of the parliament. The Prime Minister retains his position but automatically assumes control of the Interior and Defense Ministries. In response, opposition leader and President of Parliament Domingos Silmios Pereira reiterated his objection to the dissolution of the National Assembly. According to the country's constitution, Parliament cannot be dissolved within 12 months of its election.
Abdul Hassan filed that report.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
The Gambian National Assembly has made a plea for the government to supply additional arms and ammunition to the security services. Concurrently, the Parliament has pressed the authorities to accelerate the promotion process and enhance the living conditions of security officers in the country. From Banjul, WDL Sankle Janko reports.
The Gambia, facing escalating internal security threats, requires a comprehensive approach to public safety. Following a recent nationwide tour on security installations, the Defense and Security Committee of the National Assembly calls on the government to provide arms and improve the lives of security officers as recommended by Sheriff Sar, a committee member.
The government provides additional weaponry, mostly importantly, sniper pistols and AK-47 to the PIU. The government provides more patrol vehicles to both the Army and the Armed Forces and the Gambia Police Forces.
Another concern raised in Parliament is the promotional delay among security officers. Almame Jiba, member for Fonyi Councillor, emphasizes the urgent need to expedite promotions.
Another pertinent thing that is of importance, the delay of promotions. You will see within the ranks 8 years, 10 years with one rank. So I think it's not fair and they need to be considered in that regard also. Then another important thing that the committee has also cited, border demarcation, is enormous and important. We need to take this seriously.
Comparatively, well-equipped security forces globally contribute significantly to crime prevention. Lamin Sisay, a National Assembly member for Kiang West, highlights the importance of investing in modern arms and technology to align Gambia's security capabilities with international standards.
Sometimes we debated here and said we should give guns to our men and women in uniform. We think that's the protection. And we think we just have to station them at a checkpoint and give them a gun. That's their protection. It's way beyond that.
Emphasizing the critical nature of resource allocation, investing in the security sector is viewed as an investment in the nation's stability and prosperity. A well-armed and trained security force contributing to a safer environment can foster economic development and attract foreign investment. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankole Janko reporting from Banjul.
Advocates for the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values bill, often referred to as the anti-LGBT bill, has voiced their frustration as Parliament for the third time failed to deliberate on the bill despite Speaker Alban Bagmin's directives. MP for Ningo Pram Sam George, the bill's main advocate, emphasized the prolonged delay in Parliament, condemning it as a deliberate effort to undermine the authority of the Speaker of Parliament. WDL's Accra correspondent Nade Tete has the rest of the story.
The absence of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee Chairman Kwame Enyimadu led to the postponement, a situation that angered Samuel Nartey George, the lead proponent. He alleged deliberate efforts by the majority caucus to obstruct the bill's progress. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, Samuel Nartey George, who is also the Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram, said the proponents would not entertain attempts by the majority caucus to undermine the bill.
Our frustration is that this is not the first time this is happening. It's not the second time. This is the third time the Speaker has given such an instruction and it has been disregarded in his absence. We need to understand from the majority side what their issues with the bill are. We need to understand with those who take the chair when the Speaker gives the instruction what their opposition to the bill is. We are very well aware of people in leadership on the majority side who are reaching out to sponsors of the bill asking us to step down the bill. Is that why the majority side is fighting against the bill? The excuse given today that the chairman of the committee is not in the chamber, so we can't take the amendment, is alien to the practice of this House.
He has threatened to expose the individuals causing delays and emphasized the sponsors' commitment to advancing the bill despite the setbacks.
Next time we address the media, I will mention names. I've been impressed upon today by my co-sponsors not to mention names. And it's out of respect for them that I'm not mentioning names. How can this bill spend almost 3 years? This bill was introduced in 2021. The Speaker of Parliament, they want to disgrace the Speaker.
Meanwhile, the chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, Kwame Enyimadu, has rubbished the allegations by Sam George.
And that is not fair to me. I went to Parliament. From there, I went to the Ghana National Fire Service because they had a conference and I needed to represent the minister. At any rate, nobody had intimated that we were going to consider any of these bills.
The bill aims to prohibit LGBTQI+ activities, advocate against them, and provide support for individuals involved. For NEWSLINK on WADR, I am Nadidi Teti, Accra.
You're listening to NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and on our partner station across the Sound region. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Senegalese opposition politician Sonko returns to the court to seek inclusion in the 2024 electoral roll. Guinea-Bissau's President Embalo alleges opposition role in recent attempted coup. Proponents of anti-LGBT bill in Ghana express frustration over Parliament's failure to consider the bill. Gambia National Assembly calls for increased arms supply to security services and improved conditions for officers. And still ahead, UN urges probe into accidental bombing in Kano, Nigeria, as public outcry mounts. We do have a guest interview segment, newspaper review, and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget you can listen to us live on wadr.org, Facebook, and YouTube streaming. In Liberia, a coalition of civil society organizations operating under the umbrella of the Joint Civil Society Anti-Corruption Initiative has submitted a petition to the National Anti-Corruption Commission. The petition calls for an investigation into officials of the George Weah administration who were subjected to sanctions by the United States. The group has urged the anti-corruption body to collaborate with the United States Treasury Department to obtain evidence for the potential prosecution of individuals, such as the former Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Nathaniel McGill, and former port manager, Bill Twaway. WDL's Ellington Pope in Monrovia provides further details.
Minister Nathaniel McGill and Bill Twaway resigned amid U.S. sanctions of public corruption, only to later participate in and win the senatorial elections in Maigibi and Riverside counties during the October 10 elections. In a joint petition statement, anti-corruption CSO member Afridia Joe urged the LACC to expedite its investigation and ensure the prosecution of the accused officials.
We respectfully submit and look forward to your fullest cooperation as a matter of urgency, as the actions which we seek are crucial to the effectiveness and efficiency and inclusiveness of the fight against corruption and bad governance in Liberia. JOSA holds the belief and stakes resolve from the fact that when the fight against corruption is buttressed by effectiveness and application of laws and appropriately applied, Victory is certain, and citizens' welfare is prioritized.
LACC Chairperson Alexandra Zo, receiving the petition, appreciated the group and pledged that the LACC would thoroughly investigate those accused by the United States.
This petition clearly aligns with our plans for 2024. All these individuals that were named here, we have outlined plans in 2024 to actively investigate and where necessary prosecute. Since we took over in September of 2023, we have also made efforts to reach out to the United States Embassy here in Monrovia, and we will continue the engagement. It's good that you guys have come on. Like we said, the fight against corruption should now take a holistic approach.
Currently, the accused officials, along with those elected to the House of Representatives and the Liberian Senate, are set to be officially certificated by the National Elections Commission on Friday. They are expected to assume their seats in January 2024. For NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popa in Monrovia.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
All right, we cross now to Accra as we join Nade Tete for the newspaper review.
Greetings from Accra. Let's find out what the dailies are reporting today. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper, which is the biggest newspaper in the country. Banner headline, recommit to peacekeeping operations. UN urges member states. And in short there, we have the Vice President of Ghana, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, with Jean-Pierre Lacroix. He's a United Nations Under Secretary General for Peace Operations at the UN. This was at the UN Peacekeeping Ministerial Conference in Accra. Also in the shorts is Shelley Ayokobuchi, who is the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. Other stories on the front page of the Daily Graphic. 3 tourist sites to receive facelift. Also, Professor Abo advocates all-inclusive national development plan, and SHS Resolution Center resolves major complaints. To the Ghanaian Times newspaper now, the banner headline also has to do with something in relation to the 75th UN Peacekeeping Ministerial. It says here, let's pay attention to peacekeeping challenges. That's Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to member states. And Jospon Group signs ITMO credit deal with Swiss government at COP28. And the final headline on the front page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Tourism Ministry and Guma Group sign 50 million agreement to develop the tourism sector in the country. Now to the Daily Guide newspaper, front page, Ghana reaffirms commitment to UN peacekeeping. And the banner headline, Running Mate Saga, NPP gives Bawumia extra time. The Vice President met with the party yesterday in relation to a choice of a running mate, but he asked for more time to deliberate further and bring his preference to the party. Also, why Jessica Judge was fired and CPP sacks top executives. And the final headline here, you have no appellate jurisdiction over High Court, the Office of the Special Prosecutor told. Let me take you through the Daily Post newspaper. The front page here reads, Akufo-Addo and Bawumia about to collapse more businesses in Ghana with new legal instrument. That's according to the minority. And the legal instrument they are referencing is the one seeking to restrict the importation of some 20 products, including rice, ceramics, as well as consumable offal. What the LI is seeking to do is that beyond the restriction, people who will seek to import these products will have to get a license from the minister. And the minority's argument is that if we implement this, it's going to create an avenue for corruption. Other headlines on the front page of the Daily Post newspaper, you should be asking questions on the killing of innocent voters in 2020. Franklin Kujo replies Jean Mensah. And the final headline here on the Daily Post newspaper, a huge benefit is floating into someone's pocket in the perfect lithium contract. And that's according to the former Chief Justice of the country, Her Ladyship Sophia Ekufu. From Accra, my name is Nadi Teti. Back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Nadi, for the newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
In this segment, we take a look at the series of coups in the sub-region, which is putting the unity and capability of the economic community of West African state ECOWAS to the test as it seeks to restore civilian rule in countries such as Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali, and Niger. Now, these four nations have joined forces to resist economic sanctions and potentially military action by the other 11 countries within the bloc. Recall on July 26, the military junta in Niger placed President Mohamed Bazoum under house arrest, accusing his administration of mismanaging the country's resources and allowing the security situation to deteriorate. In response, ECOWAS imposed trade sanctions on Niger and even threatened military intervention. But the ongoing political and security crisis in Niger, as well as in Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Mali, are proving to be challenging for the other ECOWAS member countries. Now, what does the future hold for the community with this latest development and threat to destabilize ECOWAS? Our guest, Austin Igwe, political analyst, responds to this.
Yeah, thank you for the question. You know, your question almost looked like a metaphor because of the choice of your words. Turbulent season. Yes, this Sahel region is truly experiencing a turbulent season in its democratic architecture. Just a few weeks ago, November 26th exactly, Sierra Leone witnessed its own attempted coup. A few days after, it was in Guinea-Bissau. ECOWAS is truly facing an uphill task with the three countries under a military regime aside Guinea Conakry, who has formed an alliance, what I have considered the military states of ECOWAS, you know, military state of West Africa, like you have the economic community. So this one is a military community of West Africa states. So you can find out the acronym. So because of the alliance, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali has entered into. And you know why it fits properly? Because these three states shares boundary and they can easily coordinate along their line. Even though the three states does also have a huge task with landlocked, but with their connection to the Arab world, particularly Niger, having a very strong tie with Algeria can become their access to the world.
What do you think will happen to the stability of ECOWAS if there is another coup? I mean, with what we saw in Sierra Leone and Guinea-Bissau, what is the worst-case scenario?
Yes, ECOWAS is truly facing a huge challenge, and the more ECOWAS run away or try to run away, because there's a conversation elsewhere that we are putting a lot of burden on ECOWAS, that ECOWAS is not supposed to be, was not formed to deal with military coup and all of that, which is true because the whole idea of ECOWAS is economic and it really had nothing to do with political. But other framework that the Commission has developed suggests that the Commission has gradually snowballed into the political affairs of countries. So that's why today you no longer have what is called ECOMOG. ECOMOG was a formation of the military, kind of the days of Abacha and Co, when all of those things were on, but right now it's no longer the same. So it's the way you should look at it from there, and then it's snowballing away and it's okay.
Austin Igwe, political analyst there. And let's join Saguli Janko for sports news.
Hello out there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Senegal and Gambia have been shortlisted as a Team of the Year ahead of the CAF Awards. Senegal won their maiden Africa Cup of Nations in February 2022 before heading to the World Cup. The Triangle Lions, without doubt, are one of the best teams in the world. Meanwhile, Senegal's neighbors, Gambia, also made the cut as the Team of the Year for their impressive performance during the time under review. The Gambia secured their maiden Africa Cup of Nations appearance in Cameroon after so many attempts. In addition to securing qualification, the Scorpions put up an impressive performance, reaching the quarterfinals in their first attempt. The third and final team on the shortlist is Morocco, following their amazing 2022 campaign. The Atlas Lions became the first African country to reach the semi-finals of FIFA World Cup in Qatar. National Team of the Year in the women category are Morocco, Nigeria, and South Africa. Meanwhile, Senegal's national team coach Aliou Cisse has been shortlisted in the Coach of the Year category. The former Triangle Lions captain led his country to their first silverware at the national level. Cisse will be competing the accolade against Morocco's national team coach Walid Regragui, who led the Maghreb team to the World Cup semis, and Algeria's national team coach Abdelhak Ben Chika. In the female category, the final three for the Coach of the Year are Desiree Elise of South Africa, Morocco's Renal Pedros, and Jerry Shabalala of Mamelodi Sundowns and South Africa. The Club of the Year final three are AS FAR of Morocco, Sporting Casablanca of Morocco, and Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa. And the final shortlisted candidates for the Goalkeeper of the Year award female category are Chimaka Nadozi of Nigeria, and Delamini of South Africa, and Khadija El Khamishi of Morocco. In the main category, the shortlisted goalkeepers are Andrew Onana of Cameroon, Mohamed El Shanawi of Egypt, and Yassin Borno of Morocco. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And we've come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukudi and Maudo Diouf for the technical support. Let's continue the conversation on our social media platforms, X formerly Twitter, Instagram, at WDL News, and Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, New FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio